Welcome back to Little House on Laurel. Today I've got a great recipe for you for sourdough croutons. The great thing about this recipe is that you can either make a loaf of sourdough bread the day before, or if you already have sourdough bread and it's been out for a couple days, it's maybe starting to get a little stale, you can use that as well. And I'm going to link to a couple of sourdough videos that I have for basil sourdough bread and honey oat sourdough bread. What I did actually is I had some half-eaten loaves of basil sourdough bread. I actually put them into bags and put them in the freezer until I was ready to make croutons. So if you have bread that's getting old and you don't want to make croutons right away, you can just wrap it up and put it in the freezer until you have time to make your sourdough croutons. For this recipe, you really only need a couple of things. You need a good knife that you can cut your bread with. If it's artisan bread, of course, it's a little harder to cut, and I have this great knife that I use that I'll link to as well. And then a cutting board, of course. And then you'll need a big bowl and a spoon and a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. As far as ingredients, like I said, you're going to need a loaf of sourdough bread. Day old or a couple days old is best. You'll need 1/4 cup of butter, 2½ teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So I have this basil sourdough bread left over. So I'm just thinking this is going to give the croutons even more flavor, because this bread has fresh basil, fresh minced garlic, and Parmesan cheese. You're going to start by cutting your bread into 3/4 inch cubes. You can cut off the crust if you prefer, but I kind of like crust. I like the chewiness. I don't think it makes that big of a difference for your croutons. But if you don't like the look of the crust, then you can just peel those off before you cut into cubes. Now you're gonna start filling a bowl with your cubes of bread. Just in case you were wondering about this knife, this is a left-handed, because I'm left-handed. So my husband has a hard time using this. But if you don't have any lefties in your household, then just buy a right-handed one and it should be really easy. All right, so I've got a pretty full bowl of pieces of bread. Now I'm gonna add the 1/4 cup of butter, and you could use 1/4 cup of olive oil if you want. I just really like butter, and I feel like it just makes everything taste better. I have made my granola recipe with both butter and coconut oil, and I just prefer butter. It just gives it a different flavor, a better flavor, in my opinion. So once you have the bread cubes pretty much all tossed with the butter, and you'll add the seasonings. Now I'm going to add the 2.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You're gonna toss to coat. I'm gonna line this baking sheet with some parchment paper. And then spread the bread cubes out in a single layer. All right, I'm going to pop this in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. You want these to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, but you're gonna turn everything over once in the middle. So around the 7 or 8 minute mark, I'm going to check, and if it's starting to get a little bit golden brown on top, then I'm gonna turn it over so the other side can get golden as well. All right, so I took the croutons out of the oven and they've cooled completely. So now they're ready to put on any delicious dish that you can think of, or just eat them as a snack like my kids do. They're so good. To store these croutons, you can put them in any airtight container and they should stay good for up to 1 week. I'm making a salad here for our croutons. So I just cooked some eggs in the Instant Pot, which is the easiest way ever to hard boil eggs. And just put them in on the rack and set it to high. Set the timer for 15 minutes. I let it go for another 15 minutes after the timer goes off. And then I vent it and they're done. I put them in cold water or put them in the fridge to cool. Croutons, of course, go really well on salads. They also are wonderful on tomato soup. This is how I enjoy these croutons. I also enjoy them on homemade tomato soup. The sky's kind of the limit. I hope you enjoyed my video on this sourdough crouton recipe. Please go ahead and like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I create 2 new videos every week with content on farm fresh recipes and simple living ideas to inspire you on your journey to a healthy and happy home. I'll see you soon.